Hi everybody, we're learning about one-point perspective, and in this lesson you guys are going to learn about how to do it from a street level view. You're going to need a ruler, a Sharpie, a pencil, an eraser, colored pencils for later for coloring, and a piece of paper. We are going to start by making our horizon line right across our page. You can go towards the middle, you can go back a little farther. It's up to you. Hold your ruler tightly. Run your pencil lightly across your page. And you'll have your horizon line. Mine is really hard to see. So I'm going to go over mine again harder so that you guys can see it, so it's darker. But you guys can make it so that it's still very light. There we are. It's easier to erase when it's much lighter. Alrighty, so we're going to make a vanishing point. You can just estimate about where you want it to be. I'm going to have mine somewhat in the middle, and I'm going to be creating a river. You can choose to do a river, you can choose to do a street. It's up to you what you would like to do. But my perspective is of a river, which we find in the paths that we have around our school, the creek that runs back there. All right, make this line darker for you all. Now I'm going to add my building. One of your requirements is to have the school located somewhere in your drawing. So the school has to go back into one-point perspective as well. So over here, if this is my river, I'm going to make my building for the school over here. We're going to start by making a rectangle. I'm going to have it get cut off the page. Always hold your ruler very firmly so that your lines become straight. All right. Now this corner and this corner, we're going to show it going to the vanishing point. That's our first line. And our second line. Now we are going to make a parallel line farther back to give the back of our building. So it all depends on how far back you would like to go. I like to line my ruler up with the line I already made so that I know that it's straight, and then I slide it over until I'm okay with how long I want my building to be. Make my line from here to here, and you have yourself a building going back to one-point perspective. Now it is time to erase. We are erasing everything beyond this line, erasing this, erasing this. there are some lines that I erased that I need to fix because I did not want to erase them. So I'm just adjusting. Alrighty. Now we need to add door or windows to our building to make it look more like our school. So I'm going to make a sign that's going to say Perry Elementary School at the top. I'm going to make a door. Nice welcoming door. Now I'm cutting off part of the building, so I'm going to also cut off part of the door, part of the sign. Now just drawing rectangles because we're on the front of the building. So here are my handles. Now to add windows on the side. Every line that is the top and the bottom need to go to the vanishing point. So I'm going to draw my first window. I'm going to make a vertical line parallel to this. I'm going to give it some space to make another line. I just estimated how long to make these. We can always erase later. From this point, I'm going to make a line to this point. It's going back. From this point, I'm going to make a line going to this point. All right, we've got our first window. So we can erase all of that and all of that. Got our window. I'm going to make another window right below it. I want them to be lined up, so I'm going to line my ruler up with this line to make another line down here. Do the same thing over here. And I'm going to make my lines go to the vanishing point. We're going to start from this top and this bottom. Perfect. Now we're going to erase. If you want to add more windows, you can. If not, that's okay too. So, I'm going to start adding my details. Now for my drawing, who is looking? Who is looking right now is a coyote for me. A coyote is looking, and the coyote is looking and observing its surroundings. If this is the river, and we do have coyotes in the back, as you all know, that you learned with Miss Banjoff. What do coyotes eat? What do coyotes like to be around, hide in? What do they see with their eyes? If they were by the creek in the back, they would see the school. They would see the creek, which is what I'm making this. So maybe My coyote's standing on top of a rock right here, and it's going to catch a bunny because coyotes eat them. So these are all things that you need to be thinking about in that packet before you started drawing. But always remind yourself of the viewpoint of what's happening. So the viewpoint, I'm a coyote and I'm looking, this is what I'm seeing. What else would the coyote see? So I'm going to start drawing my details. Adding some writing up here. I'm going to start adding bushes and animals that the coyote would eat, animals that would exist in the back where the creek is, and the bushes, or the trees and the bushes and the plants and the grass. These are all things to keep in mind. So I'm going to start with my words. Since these words are going straight across, we don't need to worry about them going to the vanishing point. If you make words going on the side of the building, that would have to go into the vanishing point, which I can show you in another video. My building. Now, the lines going back to the vanishing point for a river, they're not this straight. If you made this a street, yes, they could be that straight. But if this is my river, my lines need to be more jagged. I'm going to erase my straight line that I made after I fixed it to be the texture that I would like it to look like. Same thing on this side. Okay, it's looking more like a river. Now, if I start drawing my bushes or trees, those have to go into perspective as well. So I'm going to draw a light line. Mine's going to be darker so that you can see it, but yours should be very light. So if I want my tree or my bush, maybe to start out that tall. All right, so I'm going to keep drawing some bushes into perspective. So if I start back here, you need to stay within the boundary lines. As you can see, they get larger on this side and smaller on this side. Okay, now this line can be erased. Unless you are adding other drawings to it. You don't need to add bushes, you can add anything that you would like, but it has to go into 1 point perspective. Alrighty. Add some rocks to my river. If I'm drawing rocks back here, they're going to be smaller than up here. It's the same idea. Okay, give myself some rocks. I'm going to show the difference between the water and the ground, because for a river it doesn't always go to the very top, especially with the creek that's behind Perry. So I'm going to draw my line where my water's actually going to be. Remember, you have to stay the same angle as these lines that you made before. And notice how it gets wider as I come forward. And show your lines. I'm showing you a river because a street is much more geometric. A river is more organic. So sometimes that could be a little more confusing to draw since we're using 1 point perspective, and 1 point perspective is normally very straight. Alright, so now it's time to draw my rabbit. You can draw this wherever you'd like. It doesn't have to be a rabbit. You all know what predators and what prey exist around our school. This is why we're doing this lesson. Think about your walks with Miss Banjoff. Think about what you saw, what you explored. So I'm going to show a rabbit over here on this side. And it doesn't have to be anything very specific with the details of the bunny. That's okay. I'm drawing some grass right now to hide part of my bunny, because they like to hide in twigs and sticks. I'm showing a little area of grass with my rabbit peeking out. Use the reference guide that I gave you to help you draw any animals that you might be struggling with. And it's okay if they look a little cartoony. As long as you can tell what the animal is, everything will be okay. There's my bunny peeking out. You can add, this time of year we don't really see butterflies, so we wouldn't be drawing butterflies. But right now we're seeing birds everywhere, especially I know that you all are out there looking at the woodpecker, that's always a great idea. Think about what you see. I'm gonna draw a tree peeking out over here. Little branch. Since I'm going straight up and down, I don't need to draw it into perspective since it's the closest to me. If you were drawing it over here, you would need to draw it smaller and more into perspective. Right here, since it's the closest to me, I don't have to do that right now. Now this doesn't look like a real tree, it looks like a drawing of a tree, which is okay if you're drawing the same exact way. We're only worried about perspective for this lesson and thinking about what you saw with Miss Banjoff and relating that together. Now see, the line is going through my branch, so I can take my eraser and erase that. This gives me a great opportunity to maybe draw a bird, a woodpecker over here maybe, or even a nest. I think I'm gonna go with a nest. Now it's great to show the details, especially when you get to your colored pencil. All right, it's coming along. Now this line, the horizon line, is separating my ground from my sky. So this line, even though I erased it earlier, I'm gonna wanna make sure that it comes back over here so that I know where my sky and my ground meet. There we go. And there's so many more things that we can add. Keep adding more details. More, and more details. There's so many other things that can happen over here. In the sky. You could draw birds flying in the sky. You can draw, just think about the things that you see when you go outside of the school. Even the playground areas. Maybe you walk past the playground areas. Think about all these different objects, surroundings that you come across, because that is what you would like to include. So in my sky, I'm going to draw those wispy clouds. You can draw any type of clouds that you would like, or no clouds, or you can draw the sun peeking out. Think about what it looks like outside of the building. All right, I'm ready to start tracing with Sharpie. I would like you guys to add more details than what I have here. This is the most minimum. You need to have more than what I have on my paper. So I'm going to start tracing with Sharpie. Okay, now the next thing that you want to do is that you're going to want to get your eraser and erase all pencil lines that you can see after you're done tracing with your Sharpie. Once you think that you've got the majority of the pencil lines erased, you are in good shape, and then you can start coloring. Now, coloring is when you're going to show a lot of your details here, especially with colored pencils. So with your colored pencils, you're going to start layering colors and coloring everything in the way that it should be around this time of year. Now, this time of year, things are still not looking very bright, and the trees are just starting to bud, and the plants are just starting to bud, so it's a mixture between nice green brand and still kind of muddy from the wintertime. So think about those colors that you're choosing. Think about what it looks like outside. Don't just make things up.